Parents are crying. Students are being sent hundreds of kilometers away. Fees are exploding. And yet, leaders are talking about Singapore. Today, let's slow down. Let's listen carefully. Because three voices are dominating this debate. Fred Matiang'i, President William Ruto, and former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua. And they are not saying the same thing.
Just because it's very urgent and very important. Even within these 19 months that are left for this administration, can they actually have an urgent consultative meeting with critical role players in the education sector to save the parents the pain of this madness? I mean, get the professionals, the Secondary Schools Heads Association, the Kenya Primary Schools Heads Association, get the unions, get the Parents Association, get the faith-based leaders. Kwa sababu kanisa has invested heavily in education. In fact, there is no way in this country we would have moved forward in education without the church. Kanisa imeegeza kabisa kwa elimu. Ukiangalia shule zetu zote kubwa, nyingi zilianzishwa na kanisa. Tafadhali ninawaomba hawa ndugu zetu wako kwa serikali, kwa sababu mko hapo kwa hii miezi 19 iko mbele yetu. Si sasa muite hawa wote wasee wa kanisa, viongozi, professional leaders kwa room. Wengine wawaeleze the pain and the challenges that the parents are facing. Can we solve this chaos that you have created in the education sector? Sababu sasa tunaendaje Singapore na ushenzi kama huu? Yeah. Alafu sasa ni story tu, yani kazi inashinda, tunaanza story. Ili tusahau yale iko hapa, tunaanza kuambia habari ya Singapore. You can't place children in school. The most basic thing on earth, you can't. You are not able to explain why you reduced the capitation. You can't explain. Watoto wale wa class 6, grade 6, are moved on. Their results are not out. They don't know what has happened.
Fred Matiang'i begins from one place only. Parents are suffering. He says, before politics, before legacy, before 2027. The government has 19 months left to stop the bleeding in the education sector. His proposal is simple, not radical. Urgent consultative meetings with parents' associations, teachers' unions, primary and secondary school heads, faith-based leaders, and he is clear why. Because in Kenya, churches have invested heavily in education. Land, classrooms, dormitories, and teachers. Ignoring them, he argues, is reckless. Matiang'i is not speaking in theory. He points to students are placed in faraway boarding schools. Others were placed in day schools far from home. Parents forced to pay huge transport costs. Cash-only commitment fees of 10,000 to 15,000 shillings. And then comes the line that shook the country. How can we go to Singapore with this kind of nonsense? Translation: you don't dream globally while parents are drowning locally.
30% ya budget ya Kenya inaenda kwa elimu. Leo nikizungumza na nyinyi hapa, tumebadilisha mfumo ya elimu. In the last 3 years, we have made the most consequential changes and reform in our education system. Number 1, ile program ambayo ilianzishwa na Rais Uhuru Kenyatta, kwamba tufanye competence-based education, which was the right decision that was made. Hiyo program ilikuwa na matatizo, haikukuwa na walimu ya kutosha, haikukuwa na pesa ya kutosha, na watu hawakuelewa funding itaendeshwa namna gani. Mimi nataka niwaeleze, in the last 3 years, because education is important, we cannot develop this country without educating our citizenry. Sababu hiyo tumeongeza pesa kutoka bilioni 500 mpaka bilioni 700 ya kusomesha watoto wetu. Tumelainisha ile CBC ilikuwa inasumbua wananchi, wazazi pamoja na stakeholders wengine wakiwemo wanafunzi. tumeilainisha vizuri. Transition ya primary school to junior school tumeifanya na taratibu tumeweka sawa sawa. Transition ya kutoka junior school mpaka secondary school tunakamilisha this month. Kwa sababu elimu ni muhimu. Nchi ya Korea, nchi ya Singapore ilihakikisha kwamba masomo wameweka mbele, and that is why we are putting education as a priority in our nation, because we want to travel the journey into a first world country. Nyinyi mnanielewa jameni? Na jambo la pili, tumehakikisha kwamba tunajenga madarasa ya kutosha. We have built 23,000 classrooms. Tumehakikisha kwamba tumeajiri walimu wa kutosha. Kufikia sasa tumeajiri walimu kufikia hii Januari. In the last 3 years tumeajiri walimu 1,100 kuhakikisha kwamba watoto wetu wanapata nafasi ya kusoma. Why? Because the development of our human capital is a priority and is important.
President William Ruto responds defensively, but with numbers. His argument is consistent. Yes, CBC was a good idea, but it was chaotic, underfunded, and poorly prepared when his government took over. He lists achievements. Education budget raised from 500 billion shillings to 700 billion, 23,000 classrooms built, 100,000 teachers hired, transition from primary to junior school streamlined, transition to senior secondary ongoing, 44 billion shillings, capitation released before schools opened. Ruto's message is firm. We didn't destroy education, we are fixing it.
Kuna watu nasikia wanaongea vile mambo sijui education. I want to challenge those who are speaking about, I don't know which capitation has been reduced, I don't know which problem is in the education sector. We took over 3 years ago a chaotic education sector. There were no enough classrooms. We didn't have enough teachers. We didn't have enough money to teach our children. Most universities were almost bankrupt. Today, the situation is different. I want to tell those who are talking ill of our education system, unless you were not in Kenya in 2022, we took over a messy education system. Today, we have streamlined CBC, we have provided more money. This month, before our children reported in school, we had given all the money for capitation. 44 billion shillings was in school before our children reported to school. That is what transformation means. And I want to challenge them to tell us what better plan they have. What has been there in the past. Tunaelewana jameni? Jambo la pili, baada ya kusomesha wananchi, pia lazima tuwapange na ajira. Na tuwapange baada ya mtu kutoka standard 8, ama form 4, ama college, ama university. We equally must have a plan. Because we are spending close to 700 billion shillings every year, we must also think and we must have a plan on what happens to our young people when they come out of school, they come out of college, when they come out of university. And that is why, as the government of Kenya, under my administration, we have designed pathways for creating real, deliberate, intentional jobs for young people in our nation.
On capitation, Ruto directly contradicts critics. He says, capitation has not been reduced, money has been released, claims of cuts are political lies. But here's the problem. Parents don't experience budgets, they experience school gates.
Hii mambo ya masomo. Mimi sisemi watoto wa Wakenya wengine wasikuje hapa. Hapana. Nasema watoto from everywhere in the country, those who are qualified wakuje hapa. Lakini wale wa hapa who are qualified wapewe nafasi kwa hizi shule za hapa. Hatuwezi kuwa watoto wamepita na shule iko hapa nje. Hapa Moho High School, hapa St. Francis Mangu, hapa Thika High School. Mtoto wa hapa wazazi wake walijenga hiyo shule. Amepita vizuri, anapelekwa shule ya day Kericho, anapelekwa shule ya day Turkana, alafu mtoto wako na max iko chini anakuja kwa hii shule. Na wale wenye huko watoto wetu wanapelekwa Northeastern wamekataa kujenga mashule. Wamepewa pesa mingi sana lakini wamekataa kujenga mashule.
Former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua focuses on one explosive issue: student placement. He argues that the placement system has become unfair, insensitive, detached from reality. His claim is specific. Bright students are being sent far from home. Local children are missing out on nearby schools. Parents are left scrambling for transfers. Gachagua says placement must reflect merit, proximity, and fairness, not just algorithms. His remarks sparked backlash because they touched on emotion, inequality, and excess. The president pushed back, warning against politicizing education, against tribal interpretation. But again, the parents' pain did not disappear. Here is the uncomfortable truth. Matiangi speaks for parents. Ruto speaks for systems. Gachagua speaks for placement fairness. But parents are asking a simpler question. If funding has increased, if teachers have been hired, if capitation is intact, why is education more expensive than ever? This crisis is no longer about CBC, it is about trust. Until parents are heard, until consultation replaces speeches, no Singapore story will convince anyone. Because you cannot build a world-class system on parents who are breaking financially. Tell us in the comments, who is closer to the truth, Matiangi, Ruto, or Gachagua? And what should be fixed now, not tomorrow?